Peace. Good evening. Good weekend. I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. I hope you guys continue to have a great weekend. As always, I am Certified Player of Brooklyn. Wanted to make a quick live stream just to do one more consistently. I have the AC running behind me. My doggy's not feeling so well. So I wanted to keep the temperature in here at a steady 65. But I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. Back to the nature at hand. I wanted to do this show too regarding the migrant crisis in New York as it relates to New York, as it relates to the whole country. This is not a New York specific only problem. Definitely not. I mean, if anybody's listened to me in the past, I mean, I've mostly talked about like sports and boxing mostly in the past. Even though I've been in tune politically for since I was a kid, honestly, since I was a kid living in the hood. But having said that, since I'm gonna say like 2018, I've been politically more in line with the MAGA movement, not like Hicks in hats or pickups, and nah, I'm more in line with what Trump is saying. I mean, if you have a problem with the MAGA movement, more likely than not, a lot of the people that do have a problem with that movement, you probably have an issue with somebody at work who likes Trump. You probably are scared of dudes with pickup trucks, and you have an issue with that. That's not me, though. I mean, like, I look out for my best interest and for my people's best interest. My peoples are people, minorities, honestly, like people of color. My family is 100% Latino and Black. Every member of my family, Latino and Black. That's it. So, I mean, like, I'm not saying that I'm trying to shit on the next person so I can get ahead people-wise. Like, I don't say, I want my people to shit on somebody else, like, just so they can get ahead. No. At the end of the day, I'm looking out for primarily myself and my family. I mean, first, of course, because you'd be dumb not to. Hello, Kathy Jensen. Thank you for coming through. But secondly, I mean, like, I want everybody to do well. But at the end of the day, like, I could say that my people in the past and now are victimized, but normally we're victimized by liberal policies and by Democrats. Like, my people don't live in Kentucky or some shit. My peoples don't live in Mississippi. And like, if you're going through it because of the supposed white guys having their boot on your neck, you probably live in a liberal, or cops beating you up. You probably live in a liberal city. You probably live in the city of Biloxi or some shit. And although the state of Mississippi might not be liberal, I'm pretty sure that the city of Biloxi is. Like, right now, there was a hyper liberal guy who won the mayor seat in it's the biggest, Nashville, Tennessee. They elected the first trans person, like, for their council, their city council, in addition to like a hyper liberal mayor for the mayor of Nashville, Tennessee. Now, like, I'm pretty sure if you lived in the sticks in Tennessee, like, you don't have an issue with like cops beating your ass. But if you live in Nashville, Cashville, you know, like, I'm pretty sure you may have an issue with cops kicking your ass. I'm pretty sure Nashville's politics are not all the way to the right. They may be center left, if anything, or like somewhat like used to be in the right. But like, I mean, like, anywhere you go, like, as far as cities go, like, if you're getting your ass kicked by the cops, which is a lot of people's cop out excuse for everything. Oh, well, like, the police are whooping our ass. Like, I don't ride with police one bit. Like, I mean, like, a lot of the shit that's happened since 2020 that was enacted by force, like letting Antifa run amok, the police were behind that. Like, even though like Antifa is a hyper liberal organization, yeah, but they could have deaded Antifa's operations in the matter of a month. So I mean, the police could have done that. You know, so I'm not like one of these like all the way to the right conservative, like, you know, like, oh well, like all blue, like blue lives matter. Like, no, fuck that. Like, I know there's like idiots everywhere. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you can only do best for yourself. And like, a lot of times, I mean, in my personal experience, I used to be in city council meetings all the time, in meetings in my town all the time. Like, when I started getting forcefully removed from those meetings was when the hyper liberal wave started happening in New York City. And this was since 2011, 2010, when gentrification really started in New York City. They started getting rid of like masculine voices that looked like me, you know, and they would dress it as something else. They wouldn't say, oh, he's too conservative. They'd say, oh, he's too loud or violent, or you just can't, that's not decorum, or like, you can't speak that way, like bullshit like that. But like, what I'm trying to say is that most of the shit that I've been through in my life, as far as policies concerned, that have affected me, have been 100% in a negative way, liberal policies. And I was noticing that way before this. And I wasn't riding with Trump from Jump Street. I wasn't even that interested, honestly. I thought Hillary Clinton and him weren't that great as candidates because I wasn't really tuned in like that. I mean, had I been tuned in more, I probably would have voted Trump in 2016 too. But I definitely voted Trump 2020, 100%. I've been saying that. And like, you know, if anybody knows me from my sports platforms, like when they do venture off like into political talk, I've always stated that I'm 100%. I was Trump MAGA in those times, but as soon as you open your mouth and you're like a cat like me, a Puerto Rican dude, like they make it seem like you're saying that you're part of the like you're wearing some sort of white hood. And now, like, you know, a lot of people like from the hood, Black, Latin, you got to start speaking politically in a more in a more constructive fashion. Stop being emotional. And that's for anybody. A lot of people like that, like really shit on Trump. A lot of times, like in my personal experience, it's a lot of emotional cats. So I mean, at this stage of the game, you can't be emotional. You gotta think logically and tactically. From my perspective, I mean, where you live, it may not be so bad. I mean, like, but I don't live in New York too. That's another thing. I mean, this house is definitely not based in New York. So you couldn't rent some shit like this in New York without being like broke. But I live in a suburb of New York now. I moved the hell out of New York. You can see the skyline of New York from my house, but I'm firmly entrenched in the suburbs because New York sucks. Like, or New York started to suck for quite a while. Let me see. I got your comment. Trump was sabotaged, set up by trafficking. Yeah, I mean, I know he was sabotaged for sure. I don't know about the second part. Maybe you could explain it. I'm welcome to any conversation too. But let me get into the nature at hand. I'm gonna first start it off with a. Let me see if I can share my screen. And if you guys don't know me from before, I'm technically as it relates to computers, I'm I don't fit the bill. Biden Obama administration is being investigated for human trafficking. Yeah, I mean, well, what I'm seeing right now, honestly, and I've said this to my wife, or I won't even go into it heavy duty, but I will say this. Like where I live, there's an airport near here. It's not Newark Airport. Newark Airport is an international airport. Bao, you okay? My dog's not feeling good. Like, you may see him walking around. I'm sorry, Bao. There he goes. But what I will say is this: I have a small airport near my house, two of them. Um, there have been since 2021 nonstop movement from that airport, and that's weird because that airport is for people with small planes. That's like if me and you bought a plane and you like you wanted to go fly at night. Like I mean you wanted to go fly. Since me and you like we don't have like a lot of flight hours, we're not professional pilots, we'd buy one of these small planes and normally they have rules like where these airports shut down at like 11 o'clock. The ones by me, the two that are near me, they both shut down at 11 o'clock. But I hear constant plane traffic. I was hearing a lot more, like maybe a little bit less now, but I was hearing constant plane traffic in small plane traffic, like the last 2 years nonstop, which is like, I mean, it, like take with that, take from that what you will. But I have a feeling that that was people coming from the border deeper into the country. What I will say though is that you like in my neighborhood. All right, I'm from Sunset Park, Brooklyn. Like I'm candid. I mean, I don't like bullshit about where I'm from. I'm not like shy about like I don't want you popping up in my house and no shit like that. But like definitely, I've always said like what my real name was. I'm not gonna say it now and where I'm from. Like I'm from 100%. Like grew up in the streets. And not no songbird like growing up from my window in the street. I'm talking about in the street. But I knew the effect, like what was happening in my neighborhood, like if it was happening in the back of my hands. We started getting a lot of people post COVID. When we always had waves of immigration, like we've had a Chinese wave in like 1990s, like big time. Like they were buying houses cash. They still do that, like buying houses that are $1 million cash, like one shot. And I know why they did it back then. Like I knew later on is that China sends like their old people to America because in China, if you're above the age of 32 as a man, the law, I don't know if it's still like that, was that you're in charge of your parents' medical bills, your grandparents' medical bills, and if you're married, you're in charge of your wife's medical bills and your wife's grandparents' medical bills. So a lot of people were getting loans from China, buying houses in America, sending these old people here, and then we were footing the bill, like because those old people qualified for Social Security and medical care once they got here. And I knew this too because I would take people that didn't know English to the Social Security office, and I would see tons of people there. And then after a while, I would see tons of like Asian people. And then after a while, you wouldn't see anybody except like one or two Asian people at the counter with a ton of folders like that. And they were just processing cases, bang, 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 giving different names for people that they were representing. So I mean, like, this is one thing I knew like firsthand as far as my neighborhood goes. So we did have a immigration wave of Asian people in the past, and that was not comfortable. I mean, but at the end of the day, like, I mean, like, they weren't. There were fights between like Latin Asian people, like that's gonna happen naturally, but and like it was more like they're in the way, like sometimes like they hock up loogies and shit like that, or they wouldn't piss in the street so much. They put their kids to piss in the street a lot, but they were just super congested. Like, like 8th Avenue, like the strip was like their strip where they moved into, and overnight that got like super populated. It's the second biggest Chinese community in America, if I'm not mistaken right now, after Canal Street. It's the second biggest Chinese population in the East Coast is my neighborhood, Sunset Park. But after that, or around that time, we also started getting Dominican people. Again, I mean, it just added more people, and it was just incrementally becoming more like unbearable. Like with Asian, Dominican, like we were the Puerto Ricans. Like we had black in our neighborhood. Like it was all good. But then like recently, like post COVID era, then we started getting a lot of Ecuadorian, a lot of Argentinians. Sometimes you see a little sprinkle of African cats, and I was always like, it's kind of weird. But now it's like, God knows, it's everything. And this is just in my neighborhood, nowhere near Manhattan, downtown NYC, where you're seeing a lot of these like immigrants come in. So I don't know what's gonna come of it. Like I know a lot of it, like where they're processing these people, it's mostly in Midtown Manhattan, and that's just where thhere processing it. Like where you saw AOC having a press junket today, that was in the Roosevelt Hotel. I passed that hotel almost every day. I worked in that area, but and that's a fancy hotel. If there's a show called Hotel Renovation, and the little montage they show in the beginning is actually that hotel. Like the guy comes out of that hotel in the beginning. But anyhow, they're using that hotel 100% for processing immigrants and then sending them out to other spots in the city. Will that stay that way? I don't know. Like something really weird is happening in New York since the COVID era. I've been saying that. I've said it on other videos, such as when they were using the hotels by Hell's Kitchen, like near the Port Authority or along the Port Authority on 40th Street, like between 9th Avenue and 7th Avenue. They had those hotels for battered women that were in the shelter system. For some reason, supposedly they couldn't fit them into the regular shelters in New York because of supposedly COVID. They started putting them in the hotels near Hell's Kitchen. As soon as that happened, you started seeing tons of cars of pimps and women selling themselves for sex, and I'm not saying that those women are wrong for that. I mean, like they're probably getting enchanted by money. I mean, and they already don't have money, so like what could you do? But now you're throwing other women on top of that, and then a couple of years, like in the last couple of years, you're also getting this this collision of like in the media being a push of sex workers, like you can't, like making it seem like it's some normal shit behind that. Like that's horrible. It's horrible for men to be paying for ass like that, and it's disgusting for men to be paying for ass like that. But as a woman, I mean, I'm not like crashing down on women. I think it's a tragedy that women had to sell themselves like that. But what the liberal politics and like the liberal media wants to nudge on you incrementally is like, oh well, now we're gonna have a need for women to sell their asses. Oh, but now we're like sex workers. Yeah, let's respect the sex workers and try to make that shit normal. Like, and that's the problem with liberal politics in general. It's been a problem. I've been noticing that a lot of times though, like when especially as Latin dude, and on top of that, I'm a pretty white looking fucking Latin dude too. But a lot of times you open your mouth and you mention any of this shit, and like people want to jump on you. And I'm not one to take things lying down. Like, so a lot of times, like politically, I try not to go into politics like on a person to person level, because one, I don't live in my neighborhood no more like that. Two, it's a waste of time because people, like, if you mention anything that sounds a tinge of conservative, like people's dumbass rebuke is, oh, you're one of those MAGA people, like, you're one of them Trump, like, So it's like it's hopeless. So that's why, go back to my original point, best to look out for you and yours, like as much as you can, because to try to save people upon your raft will only leave you getting drowned and with no raft. Let me get into some of the other stuff though. Thank you for coming through though. Michael Sellers, whiskey. Oh yeah. Law enforcement and system are trafficking judges, lawyers, doctors, DCS, and even teachers. I know this. I'm going to get into these things incrementally because of where I'm at. Eventually, I want to take my party to the other platforms because YouTube has been kiboshing me. If you look at my last video before the one that I did about migrants, the migrant video has like 2,000 views like in a matter of a day. The other one I did where it's talking about the president's son had like 8 views up until that yesterday. Now I got like 30 or something. And that's because YouTube works their magic. Like they don't want you talking about things that are like that even sound like liberal or like they work their magic. I could be talking about stupidity like one of these podcasters and wasting breath on a microphone talking about Aaron Rodgers or some stupid music shit that's happening. And like I'd probably get a little bit more love from YouTube. Or if I was talking about Trump, like and trying to invent shit on the fly, I'd probably get a little bit more love from the algorithm. But since you're talking about the most popular president of all time, and his son, who was definitely involved in some extremely illegal stuff, like then YouTube doesn't have a lot of love for that. Let's see. Kyrie Ellison, 100%. Thank you. I don't know. You are a wise young man. It's not a matter of being conservative, but knowing the crap Democrat politics is socialist crap. Yeah, that and to me, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not a Christian man too, or I'm not religious. I'm extremely spiritual, because I always feel like something like when something's right, wrong. I've seen a lot of stuff too. Going back to Kathy Jensen's point, when I was young, when I was 16 years old, I actually saw trafficking firsthand, and it was like I was extremely drunk when it happened. Like I'll say the story real quick. I used to live. If you go to my neighborhood, it's 42nd Street and 2nd Avenue. There was a strip club called Sweet Cherry, and my dad used to live there. It was a crummy ass apartment. You used to have to share the bathroom, but like the shower, it was like a room basically. But I lived on top of that strip club. It's still there. It's not a strip club. It's like a Mexican club or some shit. But I lived in that area, and that area is like industrial dead. It was a lot more back in the day. In fact, I have a story on this channel regarding the time I met a serial killer, and it was outside of that strip club. But this was when I was probably like 15 or 16. I got kicked out of my mom's house, and between 3rd and 2nd Avenue of that same block, 42nd Street in Sunset Park, I was going to my dad's house. I'm gonna make an independent video of this too. But they were like auto mechanic shops. They were like one floor in this industrial area. So I went to the doorway of one of them to take a leak. And I remember this van pulling up into one that was like 10 businesses down from where I was taking a leak. And it was a van, pulls up like in a hurry. One guy that owned the shop, who I knew who that person was because my dad worked in the auto mechanic industry too in that same area. And my dad's shop and that shop didn't get along. But and I remember that shop, they would have like these really nice cars. Like the owner and his son were scumbags. They were Latin dudes, but they had these really exotic like automobiles. But they pulled up with a van, pulled up the gate of the auto body, and then women just started coming out of the van. It was the owner and like one big guy. Sorry, I hit my computer. But they started basically rushing him into this auto mechanic shop. They got in there, closed the gate, and kept it moving. And I remember like all those auto mechanic shops are set up the same way. One, they're auto mechanic shops, crummy as shit. This is in the time like where it's probably not even, it wasn't even authorized. Like these weren't like legal businesses. Like they were just people that would rent out a spot that nobody else wanted to move into with to do auto mechanic stuff. And none of those places had showers. Like, and I knew several of them because I know how they're set up because I grew up there. But they just rushed them in there, like closed the gate, and the two guys went home. And I remember like that having such an effect on me as a 16-year-old. Like I had just came from a party too, like a little like bullshit Spanish house party, like drunk, and I don't know. It just like that. It's always stuck with me. But anyway, let me keep going on the comments. So I like well, what I want to say is that I know that human trafficking exists. In fact, I have a theory that my neighborhood, Sunset Park, was one of the biggest in New York in that, in pushing that, and that's only done with the knowledge of the powers that be. I'm more spiritual. 98. Oh yeah, the book. I'm pretty sure you're referring to. Yeah, and listen, guys, like I'm from the perspective that these are like times like no other. Like like anything that you suspect is happening is probably happening at a major level. Like in New York, like and I have another story regarding some a house of pleasures, if you will, that was right down the block of mine, and I knew 100% that that was run by people that worked for the police, basically. And and like you may hear me in the future not talk very glowingly about the police. I don't want cops getting their ass kicked unjustly. Like, no, I don't want people launching bottles at cops, like, for no reason. Like, I don't want like cops to get killed. But I'm not one of these people that's gonna say, oh, back the blue no matter who. Like, no, like, or I back the blue. Like, no, because one, I mean, you get paid to work that job. I mean, you may not get paid handsomely, but a lot of cops do get paid handsomely. A lot of cops do jerk overtime, like, like I know this. But there's a lot of shit that happens that could only happen with their cooperation, and you don't hear a lot of people breaking rank and saying, well, listen, I know of this that's happening here that's really bad, that's happening with some of the people within my department. Like, how many people do you see breaking ranks and saying that stuff? Very zero. I mean, and if they do break rank, it's like the ones that I've seen is usually after they leave that line of work. So I mean I mean, it's better than not knowing nothing. Yeah, I'll give you credit for maybe breaking rank, but that's not nothing you see on YouTube. That's shit that you see on like BitChute or Rumble, you know, um, and it gets washed away. If it's not happening on YouTube, or if the media is not telling you, like, then it's not happening to most people. But having said that, in spite of all this shit that's happening now, like in New York, it's because even though it is just in New York and mostly in New York as we speak now, and California is probably already rummaged through as far as the amount of people that could be squeezed in there. Like, know this, because like things definitely feel off. Like, I know it, like within your heart, you wake up and like a lot of times things just feel off. Like things just feel bad, if you will. But that doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. I have a great faith, like in the land that we live in. This is the greatest land in the world, like America. I'm not shitting on other countries in the process, but I've traveled to Maine, to California, and there's no greater land than the one that I live upon. Like, that's just my personal feeling. I'm not one of these patriot like morons that, oh yeah, well, like, then that's why we should go bomb Iraq. No, like, I just think that I have faith in the land that we live upon, because this is the greatest land. I mean, like, in the world. And I think that as America goes, so goes the world. And we are going to come back from this. And like, things are extremely tough right now. I have a ton of people that call me every day. I mean, not every day, but I have people that would have never asked me for money before that have asked me for money in the last year. I have a ton of people that, you see them on Facebook taking these pictures, smiling, and then they're calling you for like spiritual advice, like, and I'm not religious, or like that are just down and out. You know it, I know it, like, but things won't remain this way. Trust me. Like, there's gonna be a bounce back, like nobody's ever seen, like, of this country, and I think, this is my personal opinion, that the vehicle to make that pop off in the immediate sense, politically, if it happens, it's probably going to be done through MAGA, because MAGA doesn't get along with a lot of Republicans. MAGA doesn't get along with nothing liberal, and it's a bully pulpit that could be enabled for right now. Like right now, like things are at their worst in every country, and it's at their worst in every country because this country is doing really shitty. Now, is Ron DeSantis gonna nudge us in there with the woke wars and um basically like just trying to pump the brakes on some trannies reading books to kids in Florida, like or around the country, and let all these other liberal practices keep happening? No, no way. There's only one man like right now, and like I'm not saying he's a messiah, but right now I think that the only person that we could get behind in the immediate sense is the man who already comes from money, who's probably losing money for getting into politics, who's shitted on by the liberal left, who's shitted on by most of the conservatives, or most of the Republicans, and that's Donald Trump. If the media is telling you not to not to pay attention to somebody, you should be paying attention to them. The media was very candid about telling you that drinking the tea was safe, and now all of a sudden, oh well, drinking the tea may be inflaming your heart. Well, sorry, it's only young men though, like so, no big deal. But or that could also maybe long COVID. Yeah, right. Let me keep going down the list of comments. Watcher, my man from Australia. Glad you're here. Cops paid well here. Yeah, and cops in Australia are, the Australian politics extremely corrupt. All the Queensland are extremely corrupt. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, scumbags, politically, like as far as the liberals in these countries. I'm a believer. It's a relationship, not a religion. It's how it should be. We are living in Revelation times, Ephesians 6:12. Yeah, I definitely think that these are the end times, if you will, or the end of times. But it doesn't mean that this is the end. I think that this is the end of what we're going through right now. It may get worse, but after that, I think it's going to get significantly better. Hopefully, I have faith in that. Kyrie, I'm a believer. Yeah, and I'm not crapping on people that are a believer. Not one iota. If it keeps you doing good, I'm all for it. But I'm definitely, and if it's being a believer or being into men waving their junk for kids, and reading for kids, then I'm definitely on the side of the people that are not doing that. And listen, and that's one thing too. It's similar to my MAGA argument in that, all right, I'll get behind whoever serves my interest right now. And no, I don't I do know that there's a lot of dudes that wear dresses currently that do anything they can to be waving their wares in front of kids. So I'm opposed to that. If that gets me if I got to do that by getting behind Christians, I'll get behind Christians. Or I'll work with Christians. If that gets me, if I have to do that by getting with construction workers, I'll do that too. If I got to do that by the Rottweiler Association, I'm with it. California is the highest state for trafficking. Maybe I don't. It makes sense. Kyrie Ellison says exactly. Australia, heartbroken. I know. Australia's a great land too. Professor Richard Kellogg started wokery. Trafficking is picking up. LGBT crew trafficking plus wokery. Yeah, but look, this is as far as the woke movement, because some people would take it as when you would say woke, as if you're saying black, and woke has zero to do with black. You ask most black dudes in New York, friends of mine, and they hate everything about the woke movement. Maybe in 2019, 2018, they probably interrelated that to be make it seem like it's black. So if you're talking bad about wokeism or woke stuff, then you would by default talking bad about black people. That's not the case in 2023. Not even the dumb people politically are feeling that way right now. They know that this is a problem. They may not get broadcasted on TV. They may not get any shine on TV. But trust me, all that stuff, the enchantment of all this stuff and of wokery is ending. We're at the peak level, where people are not digesting it no more. The problem is though too is that a lot of people within these past decade or two felt a little bit neutered, men, to speak up on certain things because they didn't want to be perceived in a certain light But now I think lines are being drawn and people know where other people stand. And like even the worst of them, I mean, I have family members that were, lining up and drinking the doses of tea since 2021. Oh, you can't come to my house unless you show me you got proof of the tea. Then fuck it, I'm not coming to your house. But now, like those same people, like admittedly, like are telling me outright, I got fooled. So I mean, and that's not exclusive to one member of my family. That's probably 20 million more people that feel that way since 2021 here in America alone, and that's of all colors. And like it wasn't no MAGA movement that was forcing them. It wasn't racism that was telling them, drink the tea or you can't work. It was a certain quadrant politically, and like now that quadrant politically, though you may not see it on TV, is losing a lot of its luster. In fact, it's getting to a point where people are getting really angry at these at the liberal, like pushy left, if you will. Let me see. God will select anyone to spread his message. You're one of them. All right, thank you. I hope so. Leave the children alone. Let them be kids. Yeah, and you don't see a lot of women dressing up like men to go read in front of kids. It's always these degenerate men that do it. Like I like some moron wrote about drag queen, like on a Facebook comment where I was making fun of somebody, and they said, "Oh well, it's drag queens and drag kings have always been around." I was like, drag kings? Like when did you ever hear drag kings? Like ever? I've never seen a drag king. Like a drag king would be like a little bookish dude, like, or a lady dressed like a dude. So naturally, she's gonna be a little bit smaller. Like, and what are you gonna do? Flaunt? Like how does that work? Like, do drag kings do the same thing as drag queens? Like, because I always looked at dudes that were strippers or some shit like on TV as like flamboyant, like quasi like flamingo-ish. So like men don't do that normally. I mean, like, I'm not one of these manosphere channels, but men don't normally gyrate their like their wares in front of anybody unless you're a little bit on the flamboyant side. So like, what do drag kings do? Drag kings don't exist, and drag kings don't like try to make their way into reading to kids. That's for sure. Do you see people shout at AOC and Nadler TV? Yeah, I'm actually gonna pull that clip up in a few seconds. I did see something suspect within that clip though. Because don't believe anything you see on TV. Don't believe me. Like everything I'm telling you, like go look up yourself. If you like, like we gotta be vigilant in our investigative efforts. But believe nothing you see on TV. Because a lot of times, sometimes there's some I don't know. Because I saw one of the people that I say that because the clip I'm about to show you, one of the guys that was protesting to close the wall, he was one of the most outward demonstrators there. He's a Latin dude. He looked to be Puerto Rican, maybe Cuban, but he was also dressed up with a prisoner outfit when Trump got arraigned in turned himself in Florida. He actually got arrested. I'm going to pull up that clip as well. So that's why, like, he was all like, and he was doing that to make fun of Trump. Like, he actually jumped in front of Trump's entourage with the sign, like, and like was making a big show of it, saying that Trump should be locked up. But then, on another hand, I mean, hopefully, maybe he's coming to the light and like preaching some of the MAGA like interest. But then he's also at this demonstration that I'm gonna pull up in a few seconds, saying to close the border. But I'll pull up the clip now. I mean, it's not a big deal. Like, I mean, because the guy's probably a nobody, but I'm just saying that, always be vigilant of operatives in that light, like people that try to push others into a certain direction, particularly like in demonstrations. Like you guys saw what happened in the biggest terrorist action of our time, like comparable to 9/11, January 6th. But let me pull it up now. Oh, here it goes. This is a clip from earlier today. And this is at the Roosevelt Hotel. That's AOC. As annoying as AOC is too, I find it very attractive. Full disclosure. That's the guy right there that I was saying. But when I just close the border. Oh, let me say one thing too, and that's how you know we're coming into a different era, if you will, because we're getting to a point where, like, all right, so say for instance these two politicians, Esplanade, whatever his name is, can't stand this dude, New York politician, scum. I don't know who this lady is, probably scum. She looks like scum. AOC, all her ideas scummy, even though she's very attractive. But if these people were to walk in New York City and be spotted, and this is New York City, liberal supposed New York City, like they would not be able to walk without an entourage in New York City. Or they would, even with an entourage, they'd be in for some rough walking, if you will. I'm telling you guys right now, like Trump could walk into New York City with his entourage tomorrow, and it would not go bad for him. Like, people are taking to Trump. People will kick your ass in New York City for trying to mess with Trump, more so than they would for any of these people on the screen. So that's how you know that the tide is turning. I mean, like, as shitty as things seem right now, and yes, they are crappy, like, but something is changing within the minds of people. But let me continue with the clip. Here it is.
Stories, heartbreaking stories, manifest itself here. But I think these are intentions, but we are all Americans, and we all believe in the American dream. That's the problem. Walk freely in this country. How about that? You're blocking traffic. You're blocking traffic. Excuse me, you're impeding my way. Move.
And also, this is for educational purposes only. I give thanks to the person who shared this video, Freedom News TV, NYC. I'll continue.
AOC and FBI, you're a disgrace to the Hispanics. You're a disgrace to the Hispanics. You're not representing.
Legal versus illegal petition.
That's the guy right there that was wearing the prison outfit in the Florida video.
I got it. Don't worry about me, bro. Close the border. They are not true asylum petitions. They are economic migrants.
And look, these stupid scooters that are here, this all belongs to these newly arrived immigrants. Now, how they're affording these scooters, because these are all brand new, I don't know. Because I looked online, I took the liberty, and they actually go for $900 a piece, which is cheap by today's standards for a scooter. It could be that they're lowering the price on this to screw this country up. I mean, but my mind thinks far out like that. But all these immigrants have enough money to buy phones, like new phones, scooters, helmets. You know, that's $2,000 worth of stuff. How they getting the money to afford this, who knows? But it's not like they're being given these items. That's my thinking. But let me continue with the clip.
Subcommittee Ranking Member Jayapal, number 100 of our colleagues urge the administration to
association is that they need people to work.
Can you make a statement on the mayor said that this was here at the Roosevelt Hotel? We haven't seen reports of that at this specific site.
that we've witnessed right now. But we will continue to remain vigilant, work and receive information from grassroots communities, migrant families themselves, mutual aid organizations, and more. But right now, I think that our main focus is the federal response, so that we have resources and a path to citizenship necessary, or a path to documentation necessary.
And Mayor Eric Adams says that the city really catered to.
I have to thank you.
Open it up.
Yeah, that's what is there? What is this here then? Yeah, barriers for who? For who? For us? For the United States? Now you come down. You're completely destroying our state. You come down, you only breaker. You gotta go to sleep at night. Hey, motherfucker, you motherfuckers are causing this division. Come here. It's all coming to you, motherfuckers. You think you're something special? How is that bringing unity to the station when you're taking care of illegal immigrants over your own citizens? You're trampling on our
Close the border! Close the border!
That's what that is, country.
They are illegal aliens! They are illegal aliens! That's what they are, illegal aliens! Illegal aliens!
Better follow the law. My family's been waiting 7 years.
Yeah, again, that's that guy that was wearing that outfit. I mean, but you guys get the idea. I was surprised that there's not more people here, but again, like New York went through a time, and this is from a New Yorker. I'll be candid as far as my assessment. We went through a time in which gentrification started happening, and a lot of the rough dudes from New York either got arrested or just started being neutered. Honestly, like they just started being okay with being accepted by gentrifiers and started behaving like gentrifiers. Because honestly, like when BLM was tearing shit up in like Washington Heights, the people that live in Washington Heights, like Dominicans, they're third generation Dominicans. When BLM showed up to Washington Heights to try to burn stuff up, that shit lasted one afternoon because they got their shit handed to them, because those are like alpha male Dominican dudes that ain't gonna put up with their neighborhood getting burned up. But then you have like downtown Brooklyn where all the high rises went up. You have like Midtown Manhattan where like a lot of gentrified like neuter dudes that probably get pissed on like recreationally live, that aren't from New York, and they let that stuff happen, you know. But so I say that to say any amount of people that showed up to that counter protest right now or that demonstration today, I commend them for doing that. I'm not going to go to those things because I don't want to be cataloged in a sense. And like, you know, I got to look out for my interests first. And that's the people within this house and my puppy dog who's sick. He just walked off. But, you know, and like with the events that happened in the event, the terrorist action that I mentioned earlier in DC, you know, the biggest event of our time, you know, you don't want to get associated with things like that and then have to like, you know, legally get drawn out, because I think that a lot of courts are corrupted now. Most judges are liberal. If they even get a sniff that you're anywhere near the right for recreation, they could screw your life up. And I don't want to be in that position. Because I just don't want to be in that position. I mean, yes, I do love the country in my own right. Yes, I do think that there's like some sort of incursion happening even before these migrants showed up. I think the migrants are the maybe the physical force of that incursion. But if the ball gets rolling, I mean, like, you know, I'll contribute where I can, like, you know, and maybe the ball gets rolling by assholes like with these people that have scooters, like these immigrants that have enough money to be affording a $900 scooter, a $300 helmet, a $700 iPhone. Like, God, who knows who's supplying that? I do know one instance where in my neighborhood, the same people that were running a border processing center, which was a small organization, which I seen it on video, it's not something that I'm assuming, was the same association that was also working at the Sunset Park Recreational Center, processing the people, the immigrants that are in that center present day now. I'm not going to say who it is now because I don't want to sound like a bigot, but I could assume that small organizations like that are the ones that are financing or funding these immigrants, maybe coming in, getting scooters, because scooters aren't cheap. If my brother wanted to buy a scooter right now, he'd probably have to work a couple months and save. You know, how is it that a migrant that just made a trek across 5 countries from Argentina have the wherewithal and the money to buy a scooter brand new? Like, that doesn't and helmet and all that stuff. Get out of here. And they're not working. You know, so I think that those things are being financed, and I think they're being financed not so these people can find jobs. I think potentially it could be being financed so that those people that are coming in have the ability to roll in packs like of 20 and start getting up to you know what. And that's a bad thing. I mean, no matter how safe you are within your house, if 20 people wanted to show up and do you harm, that's a lot to contend with. I mean, if you're savvy with your equipment, maybe you could hold it off, but that's something that could be present this winter when these people are having to sleep on the street. You know, they don't know how the law works like here. Like, they may think, you know, well, screw it. Like in Bay Ridge and Shore Road, Brooklyn, some of these people have really nice houses, and I'm over here sleeping on a field in a tent. Why shouldn't I be in one of those nice houses? Why don't 30 of us get together, go right over the bridge, and let's go cause a ruckus in like a nice neighborhood like Bay Ridge or Mill Basin, or, you know, you get the point though. But I think that they didn't buy these scooters for these people so that they could take delivery jobs. That's what they're going to try to sell it as, because they make, like, when you looked at that AOC speech, they're saying, oh, well, that these people got to have the opportunity to follow the American, to get their chance at the American dream. Nothing about closing the border, nothing about stopping the number of people coming in. It's more along the lines of, oh, well, they get the chance of having the American dream. Well, shit, I know a lot of people who were born in America, present day, that are living through a nightmare before this incursion of these migrants. People are going through it fiscally and financially in New York right now. So adding more people into New York is going to help. How? And, you know, don't let these yuppies like gaslight you into an argument, like, because they live in fantasy land. Like, if you ask one of these gentrifiers from these high rises, in their mind, they think that like somebody's going to deliver Uber Eats order to them, and they're going to teach me salsa, or they're going to teach me how to dance or some shit. Like, no, like, that's not the reality of what's happening now. If these people like are going through it, I mean, if they want it, they're going to take it. Like, that's the way of the world. Let me go read through the comments. I don't go to rallies. I stand back and look in with my back against the wall. Yeah, it's face you first, definitely. Well, I'll pray for you. Your fear of the left is great. God bless you. Keep you safe. Good night. Oh, thank you, Carrie Ellison. And anytime, please stop by. But I don't fear the left. But I do know that the left is very powerful in its current machination. Do you think we will be seeing roaming scooter raid again? Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, Dashing Rogue, and thank you for coming through. And they're not getting up to bad stuff yet, but I live in a suburb of New York currently. I live in New Jersey right now. But I've seen roaming scooter packs. I'm going to say gangs. I've seen a bunch of hood dudes with scooters. Recently, like in Patterson, and like this is on 95, near Patterson, New Jersey. And then like they're just probably doing it recreationally, or dudes with motorcycles. But what about these cats that are coming from supposed war-torn countries, like, or these dudes that are like their gangsters in their countries are these dudes. Like these dudes are probably like the hood dudes in their country. So I mean, like again, like when winter comes and like they're not getting another scooter, or they're not getting a hotel room to stay in for a month, and they still have a scooter that somebody bought for them. What do you think they're gonna? I mean, like, I'm just putting two and two together. Now, I don't go out much. Like, I'm gonna do live video in New York. Here and there. I mean, I have tough friends, so like I'm gonna try to go out with them more, like to get some of my like footage. And plus, like in my neighborhood, Sunset Park, we have the rec center that's being used for immigrants now. Supposedly, it's only 90 men, or up to 90 to 120 men. That's gonna be a couple thousand within a matter of weeks. Now that pool season is done, they closed the pool, which is part of the rec center. We may not have a pool next year. That whole rec center might be 100% migrants come October. You know, so I don't know, but we're like everything right now is upside down. I mean, like if I could you have predicted a ton of immigrants coming into New York at this velocity? I mean, I have no faith in Eric Adams. I met Eric Adams before he was a mayor. He was an idiot before. He's an idiot now. Do I like, even though he was saying the thing about being a whatever they call it, for a city where they accept migrants, did I think that they were coming at this frequency, like in addition to being equipped with vehicles? Absolutely not. Like, I mean, I would have never guessed that, because I live in New York. There's no place to put anybody in New York. Like, rent in New York for a regular rinky-dink apartment in my neighborhood. My neighborhood's not attractive like that. My neighborhood sucks. It's dirty. If you look at the videos I've done in my neighborhood, like you'll see what it looks like. It doesn't look attractive. But rent in my neighborhood for a one bedroom, you're talking 2,000 and better, 2,000 and up. You know, like, you have a lot of people living in one bedrooms at times, but still 2,000 is not a lot. I mean, if it costs 2,000, it's because there's a high demand, and there's high demand because a ton of people live there, and that's all over New York City. Oh, actually, I read an article 2 days ago where the rent rates in Manhattan are at their peak all time right now. So to make it clear, peak rates of rent right now in Manhattan, and also you're throwing in to Manhattan where there's peak rents of rates, a bunch of migrants with motorbikes. Like, I mean, it's disaster. It's gonna be a disaster. Might want to buy a fire extinguisher. I could see the winter coming up. They might burn things they ought not to for warmth. Oh yeah, I could see that too. But again, these are, for the most part, I haven't seen many women coming. Like at times, I've seen video of women in Queens, like Venezuelans, like selling themselves, like selling ass, like in Queens, which is that's, again, that to me is one of the most heartbreaking things a woman has to do, could do, not has to do, but when the woman's relegated to that, I'm not like dissing them or shitting on them, because I think that's heartbreaking, awful. Having said that, you know, the ones that I do see coming in don't seem like they're bringing a lot of families with them. It seems like the people that are coming in, 90% of them, if not more, just straight up dudes. And they like, also by breakdown, most of them are from Venezuela, Ecuador, and Congo. Not really. Some people say Haitians. I haven't seen like many Haitians, but it's African nations in addition to mostly Congo. Number one is Venezuela though. And the dudes from Venezuela, I mean, I'm a hood Spanish dude. I speak hood Spanish. Like, I'm That's my life. I've grown up in New York, hood Spanish dude, amongst black dudes, Puerto Rican dudes, Dominican dudes, my whole existence. I know what hood smells like immediately. I met a hood dude, Dominican dude in Germany, and me and him were clicked up in a minute. Like we spoke each other's language instantly. Having said that, though, I know what hood sounds like, and I know what hood Latin sounds like, and these dudes are hood Latin dudes. Again, they feel like they're hood Latin dudes that I got here in August, and I got a motorbike in addition to a helmet, in addition to an iPhone, in addition to I'm staying in a hotel free, in addition to they're giving me clothes. What about when all that shit dries up? What are they going to feel like? They're going to feel like, all right, I'm going to keep things coming in at the same frequency. However I got to do it, I'm going to do it. If I got to rob women, so be it. And on top of that, too, Manhattan, New York City, I've been saying this for quite a while, but being there, being in New York City drives you nuts. Like being in New York City, there's a constant, every block, there's cameras looking at you. Police cameras looking at you, like nutty ass people walking by with no shirts, yelling stupid shit. Some pretend to be normal, some, that are nuts. Some pretend to be nuts that are not nuts, but that just want to make a ruckus for no reason. And that was happening at more of a frequency now than ever before since 2020. It didn't dampen down at any point. It's been peaking more and more. Throwing immigrants on top of that. And that's what a lot of immigrants, 10,000 probably per week. And that's what you're getting in New York right now. That's the situation as it is. Like, but, and I'm going to say why I have faith in what could be coming. Immigrants have been coming over nonstop by the thousands for the past years. Thanks, Biden. Yeah, I mean, again, Biden, numbers-wise, was the most popular president in the history of this country. He had such support, like technically. But do with that what you will, because I don't want to get my channel kiboshed. I'm worried for the residents. These people get desperate. How far will they go? Oh, they're going to take it there. Trust me. You know, and like the women in my neighborhood. Oh, that's one thing too. My neighborhood, and I'll name the streets: 52nd Street and 6th Avenue, 52nd Street and 5th Avenue, 45th Street and 6th Avenue, 46th Street and 5th, 46th Street 6th, 49th and 5th, 6th, 4th. You won't see a soul outside anymore. Like in the summer, you would see, like on my street, like I said, 60 people outside, 30 people outside, like on a summer night, just hanging out. And I mean, if I lived there now, I'd find it annoying. When I was in my teens and 20s, I thought it was fantastic. I went the other day for my friend's mom's funeral, and we hung out till like 4 a.m. And I was just driving around the neighborhood with my friends, and you don't see a soul outside hanging out. You see people walking around outside, but as far as people hanging out, like on a corner, no, you don't see that, because I think people, they know what it is. They know that if they hang out in a corner, that even if you're tough, like I'm a tough dude, the people that I roll with are tough dudes. But we know that if you hang out in any corner, that a crazy person could pass by and like just start shit with you. And then you got to mash them out, and then you get in trouble. So, I mean, like, you know, why bother? And crazy people are walking around constantly. You don't know who's who. Like, you know, it's way too fast moving as it is right now. A lot of kids were sent alone. Federal government supports Southwest Key program, housing children that closed down Walmart stores. Yeah, I've heard of that. I saw that in one of the comments, if I believe. I don't know if you left that comment, but I could imagine. Like, 2 points I'm going to make. Well, I'll make my point about that first. I don't know if you guys are in tune with Carrie Lake, the lady who ran for governor of Arizona, who I think there was a little bit of a honking in her process of running for governor. Anyhow, in Arizona, there was a story that she mentioned regarding a young girl that was found. I think she was 7 years old. And within this young girl, God bless her. I mean, I feel terrible. And I hope the kids aren't around. I'm not going to use curse words. But they found 67, I believe, different traces of male DNA in this little baby, like a baby, 7 years old. You know, and that's what's happening. Like, I mean, like, and then you have like a ton of dudes that are coming in, straight up men. Not many women are gonna say, "Oh, well, like, I'm into Venezuelan dudes that don't have a house and a motorbike. That's my type." Like, because in where I live, we have like one of the most biggest Mexican populations, probably in New York City. This was like in the 90s that they started coming. Like all along Fifth Avenue, they're all right. Like, I mean, like they had a little bit of a gang problem, but it wasn't unbearable. Having said that, though, being that they came in like last, like they weren't getting like great jobs, so you wouldn't see many like girls that I grew up with that were a little bit younger than me, maybe, that would say, "Oh, what type of," like, if you ask them, "Oh, what type of guys you like?" They wouldn't tell you, "Oh, I'm into Mexican dudes," because I mean, like a lot of them, like, in addition to like, you're not part of a girl's palette at that time, and they're like shorter a little bit, honest, like, not to be a dick, but a lot of times, like, they were the first era of people being crammed into an apartment. So I mean, like, they don't have the logistical capability of bringing a chick home a lot of times because they have like a ton of roommates that live with them, straight up dudes. So like, now we started getting a problem of Mexican dudes playing themselves and grabbing women by force. I've had to beat up a lot of dudes for that reason. Like one of my friends, that happened to her, and I happened to be riding a bike, and I was just gonna say hi to her, and somebody did that on 7th Avenue and 44th Street in Sunset Park, and I ended up catching up to the guy. But this is when I was younger, a long time ago. But you're gonna have an even worse problem because those Mexican dudes that are in Sunset Park are still there, and their economic situation has not elevated since the 90s. They're pretty much maybe one notch above like what they were when they first arrived. Now you're cramming other dudes, and they're competing in the same pool as these guys that already are not doing very well. It's smarter to avoid problems. Yeah, certainly. But also, like, getting back to my MAGA point that I wanted to make, and why I do see hope, is because I don't see any politician that I predict that's going to make sweeping changes, in the sense of, all right, I don't care what anybody says, like, I'm going to exact an executive order tomorrow, and we got to go into the biggest deportation effort in the history of this country. Sorry to say that, like, I'm so, like, somebody's going to gaslight you and say, "Oh, well, some of these people have kids here." All right, you got, like, practice a little bit of discretion if need be, but people got to go. Like, sorry. I mean, like, by hook or by crook. I mean, I didn't hear about any wars popping off in Venezuela. Like, and I think as Americans, I mean, because I already looked into this in the past, even though I know the Venezuelan situation politically sucks, but I looked into buying property in Venezuela. And as an American, you're not allowed to. But if it's so bad, I mean, take your military age men asses back down there and go rectify it. Like, what do you want us to do? Like, people in New York are already going through it. But it's I mean, again, as bad as I see things are currently, always have hope. If you have, like, never accept, that's one thing I say, even when I did like my sports talk, like, nothing, like, one phrase that I hate that people say is, "It is what it is. It is what it is." It's the most played out, horrible thing. I mean, it's not like that bad. Like, I don't like burst into flames like when I hear it, but it's such a give up type of phrase, and I hear it mostly from dudes. Like, nothing is what it is if you have blood coursing through your veins. And trust me, like, and I don't think that it's gonna go fire and glory and blood, but things are gonna change in this country because they're changing now, and I think the pendulum's going to swing back in the other direction. And I welcome that. I mean, these are like biblical times in my eyes. Again, I'm not a religious dude, but I think more and more, and this is like evident by the fact that you get so much BS pumped into you by the media, that more and more we're gonna get into an era of just straight up truth. Like, I don't care if the truth hurts my if the truth, if there's bad things that came out about Trump in the future, I mean, like, I'm not gonna say, oh, well, I don't want to hear it. Like, you know, liberals do that. Oh no, like, you know, like if you speak bad about like Biden, who's like been a shitty politician his whole life, who has a crummy son that's profiteering off the family name, which God forbid you mention it to a liberal, they're like, what about Trump? You know, but that people like that got to be brushed aside, and people that are just for truth, like, we need truth throughout everything you do, and with truth, we're gonna come to real solutions. If the solution that we come to for this immigrant problem, which I think we should do, is to get people out of here, then we got to get people out of here. That's it. I don't care where we send them to. I don't care, like, if where they're going through, what their country is really bad. Then, I mean, like, you know, what did you do to contribute in that fashion? I don't have much of a life to live, like, you know, to be suffering through a bunch of dudes that are like rejected from their like country, like, so I had to suffer through them here. Get out of here, bro. Like, you know, like, but again, I don't see any politician doing that. I don't see one movement that we could get behind politically besides MAGA. I mean, a lot of people may not like Trump. I mean, like, you know, I didn't like him either. I was not a fan of The Apprentice. Like, you know, I thought initially that Trump was representing like down south hicks, but it's because I wasn't listening, because the media was telling me certain things about Trump, and I really wasn't in tune politically like that. I know a lot of things that are happening, like, but I'm more. I at that time I was probably more interested in international politics, into New York politics, like, to give a shit, like, and I wasn't nuts about Hillary Clinton. She sucked. But now that I know what's up, I mean, like, Trump to me is the perdition politically. Like, nobody's going to solve all your problems, but right now what we need to put a pause to things, or to try to rectify things, not pause. We need to rectify things, because like another Republican politician will just say, let's like put a pause and like deal with what we have now. No, we don't have to deal with what we have now. We need to send people back to whence they came. Let me see. C'est la vie. Don't say it is what it is. It's c'est la vie. Yeah, I mean, but I some things are what they are, definitely. But I just say, like, I just don't like how people are so dejected and like they can't solve the problems themselves. We could solve any problem we could get to. I mean, that we're presented with. I wanted to show you guys a video that I saw. This is politician from Argentina. His name is Milei, I believe. Yeah, Javier Milei. Cool head of hair. I mean, some people compare him to Trump for Argentina. Argentina's economic situation, terrible. It's a beautiful country. They're women, gorgeous. But he's giving his synopsis of the liberal left. This may require some reading. I mean, but it does provide the caption. I'm going to share the screen and play this video with you quickly.
Al zurdo de mierda no le podés dar ni un milímetro.
Pero ¿me podés definir zurdo de mierda? Que no
todos
lo
los que, digamos, los colectivistas, los que ponen, digamos, o sea, esa idea. A ver,
¿por qué le pones de mierda, digamos?
Porque son una mierda. O sea,
vos mezclás,
no,
pero
es que si pensás distinto te van a aniquilar. Ese es el punto. Es decir, vos al zurdo no le podés dar un milímetro, porque le das un milímetro y lo toma para destrozarte. Es decir, digamos, o sea, vos no podés negociar con el zurdo. No se negocia. No se negocia con esa mierda, no se negocia porque te van a llevar puesto. Si tienen un golpeador que caga trompadas a la mujer, digamos, si es de ellos, ¿entendés? Se pone el pañuelito verde y grita todo el tiempo contra el neoliberalismo, lo ocultan. ¿Me entendés? O sea, si de repente hay alguien que acosó a un periodista que acosa a otra periodista, lo ocultan. Es decir, a todos los de ellos lo ocultan. Todas esas aberraciones la ocultan. Ahora, si vos estás del otro lado, a vos te van a estropear, te van a matar, te van a dar con lo que sea. No les importa arruinarte la vida. ¿Por qué? Porque no pensás como ellos. Y ¿sabes qué es lo bueno de todo esto? Hay algo bueno en todo esto. Porque como el error es humano, como todos nos podemos equivocar, ¿sabes qué nos obligan? Nos obligan a ser mejores. Y como estamos siendo tan mejores que ellos, como los estamos aplastando en la batalla cultural, los estamos pasando de arriba, porque no solo le ganamos en lo productivo, somos superiores moralmente, somos superiores estéticamente, somos mejores en todo. Y les duele. Entonces, como no pueden pelear con las herramientas legítimas, se apalancan en el aparato represivo del Estado, poniendo torres de guita para hacernos mierda. Y aún así no pueden. Tuvieron que bajar la nota. ¿Me entendés? Que están perdiendo. Están desesperados. Están perdiendo la batalla cultural. Los zurdos de mierda. Por primera vez se ven acorralados los zurdos de mierda.
And I agree with everything you said. That's a funny picture I saw. It says Democrats, the media, anything Joe Biden says. Oh no, I couldn't share that. But what he did say was relevant to the times. Listen, a lot of these things, like when you look at like these things that are happening domestically, like the push for the Transifa, like to be reading to kids, or the Hollywood falling apart because they can't push a movie with their wokeism, and all these TV, like how many, when was the last time that you were interested in a TV show that Hollywood was pushing? Like I used to have 2 or 3 shows every year on HBO that I thought were awesome. They started pushing the wokeism on you, and it's not like by featuring black faces. It was more by featuring, it was solely by featuring the men coupled up with men. You know, like once they started pushing that into every facet of everything, like then they started breaking apart. And right now, what do you see? Like right now, Hollywood's on strike. Do you think they're coming back? Maybe they're not. But they're not. How many people are begging for Hollywood to come back off strike? Very little. Why? Because they're losing their luster. Like if they come back, they gotta if Hollywood all of a sudden starts swinging the pendulum to conservatism, they're gonna seem like they're hypocrites. So Hollywood should be done away with. I don't care. Like, and it's one of the indicators of the time that we're living in. We may not go back to Hollywood, and I could care 2 squirts of piss. Like, it's done, and I'm glad that they're done. Like, pretty soon, most of the conversations that we talked about this evening, people like are not going to say, oh, well, you know, they have a right to be reading to kids, and it's just reading to kids, like, you know, whoa, like pretty soon people are going to say, no, it's goddamn dudes being fresh. Like, you know, they don't read, like, you know, anytime you see these things that happen with the trans movement with children, they're not like over there like being docile. Sometimes they read to kids, most time, but like when they do read to kids, they look like Ursula from goddamn Little Mermaid, you know, with their tits out and stuff like that, you know, and that's sexual in itself. Kids know off the bat, like, that's not a woman, you know, that's a dude with a dress, and like it happened to be showing cleavage. And some people will say, oh, well, you know, a lady showing cleavage now isn't the biggest deal. Well, 1, you're not a lady. 2, what's the insistence of having a dude like propping yourself out like that? And that's because, and if you look at it, some of these people that go read to kids, they get paid for doing that handsomely. Like, they get paid big bucks to do that stuff by like these little weasel entities that are running around right now. But what I'm telling you guys is that stuff, pretty soon they're gonna run out of money. Everybody's running out of money for everything. And that sucks for you and me, of course. But the weasels that are doing these things behind the scene, they're also running out of money too. Believe me. Like, or they're just going to be called out on their bullshit when we get into an era of truth, which we're smack dab in the middle of. Right now, you're in an era of censorship. Pretty soon, like, you're going to get the pendulum swinging the other way. Censorship is BS. Censorship is lies. Like, hiding the truth is a lie. And when the pendulum swings the other way and we go into this era of truth that we're going like a freight train into, then people are going to say, like, no, hell's no. That's not a woman. That's a goddamn dude with a dress being fresh. And most dudes aren't going to. And once dudes get into that conversation, then it's like, all right, then what are you going to do about it? And we're going to start seeing that play out over and over soon. Pretty soon, people aren't going to say, oh, well, like, these people are chasing the American dream. No. People are going to say, like, listen, these dudes, some of them are deviants. It may, I don't know where these things are going to lead to as far as, like, how it's going to play out. I don't want violence. But, you know, right now, I mean, like, what we're living through, I mean, it can't get much worse. Besides, like, you know, people like getting like physically hurt. And I think honestly, you could allude to people getting physically hurt by like this migrant incursion that we're living through just by regular logic. So I mean, people may get hurt no matter what. Like, I mean, like, and but I don't think that we're gonna solve this by playing nice or by and the way we're playing nice in the past couple of years is by being okay with censorship or curtailing the way we feel because of these standards that were imposed by on us in the last couple of years. Like that we're at the end of that era, and that's the one promising thing you could take from this conversation that we're having this evening. That era is at its end, or near its end. I know it sucks to live through that era, of course. I know it feels dejected like that. A lot of people are broke and they can't afford things, in addition to living in a really bogus era. But look around you. Like, I mean, like, just on the biggest perpetrators of a lot of this BS, Hollywood, are at a standstill right now. They can't move. They're not working. So, I mean, like, you know, we're getting some sort of progress. Look at New York City. The biggest liberal city in the world, according to some. Like now that like the biggest darling of one of the big darlings of the liberal left, AOC, was just getting shouted down while she's in the heart of her city speaking on 45th Street in Midtown Manhattan. So trust and believe, like, you know, that as bad as things are right now, they're not going to stay that way, particularly when you don't accept it. But with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. I'm going to try to come back tomorrow. Unfortunately, let me show you guys my puppy dog. He's not feeling well. Like, it has me a little bit worried. But hopefully he feels better tomorrow. I don't know what's up with him. Like, I took him on a walk yesterday, and he this morning he was like yimpering. Say hi, Bow. Bowser, what's the matter? Look how cute he is. But he's not feeling right. I don't know if he has allergies, but if he doesn't go on the mend tomorrow, I may not be able to come on. But I'm gonna try to come on tomorrow. Oh, there he goes. Hey, Bowser, say hi. Look, Bow. Poor thing. But yeah, and when my dog feels bad, I mean, it kills me because he can't speak, so I just feel like I don't know, it just wears me down. But oh, he just broke. But I'm gonna try to come on tomorrow, like I said. If not, I'll just try to make a short video. But I'm glad, Kathy Jensen, thank you for showing up. The Dashing Rogue, thank you for showing up earlier. I'll read your comment. Hollywood let fame go to the heads and turn narcissist. Keeping grounded is important. Yeah, and on top of that too, those people get down to some of the worst things that you could think of for their fame. So I mean, like they're actors. These are people that are fake by nature. In addition to that, they're just some of the worst people by default. But you know, same thing with the music industry. Like I love music my whole life. I was a DJ for a lot of my life. I couldn't listen to music, even old music. I'm starting not to like it. In retrospect, I mean, I love a lot of old music though. Moody Blues, but not that old music. I'm talking about like 90s music. I'm starting to even sour on that. But nevertheless, Kathy Jensen, thank you for coming through. Much love. Dashing Rogue, C'est la vie to you as well, my brother or sister. I'm not sure. Trying to give a shout out. Kyrie Ellison, thank you for showing up earlier. And if I didn't catch you, my brother, the Watcher from Australia, thank you as well. But so all of you guys have a safe weekend, and don't remember, like you're always in the fight. Like there's always something to look forward to. No matter what, this day is gonna end, and you know, get on your computer and watch something, and you made it at the end of the day. Like, don't get dejected, don't get down. You know, tomorrow's a new day, and it's full of possibilities. You know, but if you set out and think it's gonna be BS, then it might be BS. But it's never gonna be that. Tomorrow will be great. But with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. My dog just passed gas. I'm out. Peace.